And what do you do for a living?
I've been a janitor for 23 years.
Just days earlier, Richard Goodall was mopping school floors, cleaning classrooms, and wiping cafeteria tables at a middle school in Indiana. Days later, his face was on millions of screens across America, all because of one simple phone video. For more than 23 years, Richard lived a quiet life as a school janitor. But when a student recorded him singing Don't Stop Believin' during an ordinary workday, everything changed almost overnight. Soon, America's Got Talent came calling. Then came the golden buzzer, the standing ovations, and eventually, the $1 million prize. But behind that incredible success was a story most people never knew. A story filled with heartbreak, rejection, quiet perseverance, and a truth Richard kept hidden for years. So what really happened to Richard Goodall? Let's understand this whole story. The humble beginnings. Born on December 14, 1964, Richard Goodall entered the world without knowing that one day millions of people would know his name. For nearly 60 years, he believed nobody outside Terre Haute, Indiana, would ever hear his voice. He grew up in a working-class community where people weren't judged by how famous they were, but by how hard they worked. His family taught him that honesty, kindness, and showing up every day mattered more than chasing attention. Richard carried those lessons with him for the rest of his life. As he got older, he never dreamed of becoming a professional singer. Instead, he focused on building a family. He married Heidi Klum and helped raise her 3 children from a previous relationship, Angela Vennard, Alicia Damon, and Alan Goodall, as if they were his own. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was meaningful. Then came the job that would define the next 2 decades. In 2001, Richard joined the Vigo County School Corporation as a custodian at West Vigo Middle School. Long before the first bell rang each morning, he was already unlocking doors, mopping hallways, cleaning classrooms, and making sure the school was ready for another day. It was the kind of work most people overlooked. But the students never overlooked Richard, not because of his job, because of his voice. As he worked, Richard sang. His powerful voice echoed through the hallways, often causing students and teachers to stop what they were doing just to listen. Outside of school, he sang in church choirs, loved gospel music, and enjoyed karaoke with friends. Singing wasn't a career or a dream of fame. It was simply part of who he was. Then, in 2021, everything changed. On June 21st, Patty passed away at the age of 74 after battling kidney cancer. Richard quietly carried the grief while continuing to show up every morning with the same smile and kindness. However, little did he know that soon, an ordinary day at work would change his life forever. One viral moment. One day, Richard was doing what he had done almost every school day for more than 2 decades. He was cleaning the cafeteria at West Vigo Middle School. As he wiped tables and finished his daily routine, he quietly sang Journey's Don't Stop Believin'. It wasn't a performance. Richard sang because he enjoyed it, and because music made the workday go by a little faster. Then, one student pulled out a phone. Richard barely noticed the camera. He kept cleaning and singing, never imagining that those few minutes would change his life forever. The video was uploaded to social media. At first, it spread around the school. Then students shared it with their families. Soon, strangers were passing it from one screen to another. Within days, millions of people had watched the school custodian from Terre Haute with the incredible voice. And one of those viewers was Howie Mandel. The moment Howie Mandel watched the video, he knew Richard belonged on a bigger stage. Not long afterward, Richard received a call from the producers of America's Got Talent inviting him to audition. For the first time in his life, Richard boarded an airplane and flew to Los Angeles. Standing backstage, he looked around at the bright lights, the cameras, and thousands of people in the audience. It was a world completely different from the quiet school hallways where he had spent the last 23 years. Then, his name was called. Richard walked onto the stage and introduced himself as a middle school custodian from Terre Haute, Indiana. Moments later, he began singing Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. Within seconds, the audience erupted. The judges smiled as his confidence grew with every note. By the end of the performance, the entire theater was on its feet. Then, Heidi Klum did something nobody expected. She slammed the golden buzzer, sending golden confetti raining down across the stage and sending Richard straight to the live shows. Week after week, America continued voting for him. And on September 24, 2024, he completed one of the most unlikely journeys in the show's history by winning America's Got Talent Season 19. After spending more than 2 decades cleaning school hallways, Richard Goodall had become a national star. But as his career reached heights he had never imagined, another unexpected blessing quietly entered his life. Finding love again. After losing Patty, Richard spent a long time learning how to live with the silence she left behind. He threw himself into work at West Vigo Middle School, stayed close to his family, and never stopped singing. Music helped him through the hardest days, but when the songs ended, the loss was still there. For a while, it seemed that chapter of his life would never truly heal. Then, someone quietly entered his life. Her name was Angie Vanoven. The two met long before America's Got Talent changed Richard's future. What started as a friendship slowly grew into something more. There was no rush, no grand love story overnight. Instead, they built trust through everyday conversations, shared laughter, and simply being there for one another. What made their relationship special was Angie's understanding. She never asked Richard to forget Patty or leave those memories behind. She knew Patty would always be part of his life, and she respected that. Instead of replacing the past, Angie helped Richard believe that it was possible to carry those memories while still finding happiness again. By the time Richard stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage, Angie was already standing beside him. She supported him through rehearsals, performances, and every emotional moment along the journey. Then, on September 18, 2024, just days before the season 19 finale, the couple married in Malibu, California. For Richard, it wasn't just a wedding. It was proof that life could still offer new beginnings after unimaginable loss. But after becoming America's Got Talent champion, Richard made one unexpected decision that finally answered the question fans had been asking since the very beginning. Truth finally confirmed. Winning America's Got Talent changed Richard Goodall's life overnight. But after the confetti settled and the celebrations ended, fans kept asking the same question. What would he do next? Would he return to the quiet school hallways where he had spent more than 23 years? Or was he finally ready to leave that chapter behind? Richard didn't answer right away. Instead, he took his time. Then, months later, he confirmed that he was retiring from his job as a school custodian to pursue music full-time. It wasn't because he wanted to forget where he came from. Those hallways had shaped the man he became. But after waiting a lifetime for an opportunity like this, he knew it was finally time to embrace it. Even as his life changed, Richard never did. He continued thanking the students, teachers, and co-workers who had supported him long before the world knew his name. Whether he was speaking to thousands of fans or meeting someone after a concert, people noticed the same humble, soft-spoken man they had seen in those viral videos. Only his stage had changed. Soon, school hallways were replaced by concert venues, television interviews, and live performances across the country. Everywhere he went, Richard reminded people that dreams don't have an expiration date. Sometimes they simply arrive later than expected. And perhaps that became the most powerful part of his story. Richard didn't win because he was the youngest or the most experienced performer. He won because he never stopped believing in the gift he had quietly carried for decades. Looking back, it becomes clear that Richard Goodall's greatest victory was never the million-dollar prize or the trophy. It was proving that kindness, perseverance, and hope can still change a person's life, even after nearly 60 years of waiting. And that's the reason the world will remember Richard Goodall for years to come. In the end, Richard Goodall's story reminds us that the biggest opportunities can come after years of ordinary life. Sometimes the world doesn't discover your gift until the moment you're finally ready to share it. So after hearing Richard's incredible journey, what do you think was the biggest turning point in his life? Was it the student who decided to press record, Heidi Klum's golden buzzer, or his decision to keep believing in himself after decades of waiting? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss another inspiring journey like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.